It is a secret to no one that HYROX is one of the biggest trends in the fitness industry right now. And despite that, there are gym owners who are struggling to break even on their HYROX affiliation. And that is because just slapping HYROX on your website and saying you offer HYROX training isn't a license to print money. You have to know exactly what to do with that affiliation. And that is why today we're going to be talking with Lisa Palmer. She is a two-brain mentor and one of our go-to experts for all things HYROX. She runs an affiliate out in London, which is one of the most mature HYROX markets. I think they're about 3 years ahead of where we are in North America. And she's built something unique, and she's going to share what it is step by step. I'm John Franklin, the CEO of Two Brain Business. We're the world's largest gym mentorship company, working with over 3,500 gym owners to generate 6 figures in profit because, yes, it is possible. Today, Lisa's breaking down everything, what she did to generate a massive ROI on her affiliation fee, what she'd do differently if she was starting over again today, and exactly how you can use HYROX to grow your gym. So let's get into it. Lisa, you're one of the OG HYROX affiliates. You're going on year 3, and your gym is located in London, which is one of the most affiliated, one of the most mature, and one of the largest HYROX markets. So you can give us a glimpse into the future here, but I want to go back 3 years to when you affiliated. What made you want to become a HYROX affiliate, and how did you go about layering that into your gym?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what sort of made us affiliate in the first place was we kind of, as our gym, and we're a CrossFit affiliate, we started kind of attracting kind of slightly older populations of people. So like working professionals, mums, dads, busy mums and dads. And like, as much as I love CrossFit, I love methodology. Like when HYROX came onto the scene, the kind of programming felt a little bit more accessible to people. Like it was adopted, you know, a little bit more warmly than maybe like the heavy barbell work that we traditionally see in our gyms. So we did kind of like, and I imagine most people do this, we did like some trial classes of HYROX style workouts, and our gyms really warmed to it and they loved it. So when we kind of worked out like, you know, what could HYROX do for us? And we saw the craze kind of starting to kick off, because I think in the UK, we were like 3 years ahead of America at this stage. Yeah, we basically sort of decided to affiliate because we saw this thing getting bigger and bigger. And it, I suppose, unlike some of the trends that we see in the fitness industry, it kind of complemented what we were already doing. It felt like an easy thing to implement. We had the equipment, we had the audience, we had the avatars that would warm to that particular style of training. So it seemed like an easy decision to make at that time.
So was the idea of this would be something that would funnel people into my CrossFit program, or this was like a supplemental thing, or maybe this would be variety to the CrossFit? Like what was the initial reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say now is probably not what I would do if I started it all again.
Okay.
But what we did do was we just added it onto our timetable, and we just wanted to make our members happier and stay with us for longer. So we kind of like started with like almost like it being a retention strategy.
Okay.
What it quickly turned into was people then started booking themselves onto the HYROX events, like the official HYROX events, which built a little bit of buzz in the gym. Like people were staying, our retention, like, so we had like a 14% churn rate about 3 years ago in our gyms. 14? 14. It was
monthly,
high.
month over month?
It was high. Hard work as well to replace those members. So over the course of the last 3 years, it's like now down to sub 5%.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying it's all down to HYROX, but what HYROX did was it gave people like a milestone to aim for in the gym. Like if an event was in 6 months' time, like that's what they were committing to. And I think that's like a secondary benefit of what we weren't expecting to see, is the retention element of HYROX. Our kind of offering has morphed into something more now. Like now we're 3 years down the line, we've got quite a few more things that we do with the HYROX brand and with our affiliation. And now we're kind of pulling in it's about 15%, so 15 times ROI on our affiliation fee now in terms of how we use HYROX as the brand in our business. But yeah, that's kind of how we got started with it, is we just kind of wanted to make our members happier.
But you said you added it to the timetable. Does that mean you just added a class? Or like it wasn't just like a one-off event, you're just like layering on a class?
Yeah, so we looked at our class timetable and we took away our least attended classes.
Okay.
Which I know probably seems like an unconventional thing to do, because you're like, well, if no one attended them before, then why would they attend them now? But we saw the opposite. Like we took off, say, it could have been a CrossFit class, or it could have been like a stretch class. And then those classes, those HYROX classes, like were brimming to capacity. So suddenly that Thursday evening that was super quiet became like the main event on the schedule. So it's a great way to like fill those hours.
And was that like a straight across, like, oh, there's no longer a 7 p.m. class, it's now HYROX at 7 p.m.?
Yeah. I think with anything like in business, honest, like as long as you communicate with your members in the right way and you frame it in the right way, then they're often like really receptive to it. So we kind of were really upfront with our members and said, listen, like, you know, we've seen historically this class isn't very well attended. We want to make sure that we maximize the space we have on the timetable rather than get rid of classes. So they were all really on board with it, especially as they'd already had those kind of like these trial classes. What we also did to maximize engagement was we made HYROX classes that they could bring a friend, like a free trial.
Okay.
So all of a sudden we went from like protected like CrossFit sessions where only memberships were allowed, because HYROX is less like it's lower skill than say the barbell work. We kind of felt it was appropriate to open it up to free trials, and that kind of maximized the member engagement. Like they were really on board with being able to bring their families and friends to the classes.
So rather than doing like a historical, like bring a friend day or bring a friend week, having HYROX on the schedule allowed you to make every day bring a friend day?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like every day, I think we started with like 2 classes to begin with.
Sure.
And now we're up to, gosh, I think it's probably like 9 classes.
And by the way, if you're already convinced that HYROX is right for your gym, I want you to check out this free resource we put together. It includes our guide on how to build a thriving HYROX program, and we also do deep dives with some of the most successful HYROX gyms within Two Brain. You're not going to want to miss it. To get it, just scan the QR code or check out the link in the description. And so you said you might have done things differently if you were to do it over again. What would you do differently if you were advising a gym owner how to layer HYROX on top of a functional training gym?
I think I would have lent into the brand and the reputation more. Now, I appreciate 3 years ago, like the brand wasn't as strong as it is now. So maybe that was a limiting factor. But now I would kind of like look at events in the future. So I'd be like, right, HYROX Birmingham is coming up in like the end of the year. So how can we build off that momentum of people, like 30,000 people signing up to these events? How do we build off that and work backwards and maybe put on like a race prep course, like 10 weeks out for 6 weeks. And then we put in a simulation event.
Yeah.
So I think what I do differently is like, we kind of just like muddled through it 3 years ago. Whereas now I think I'd be much more like strategical, a little bit more structured with the actual timetable, and would anchor it around HYROX official events.
So based off your accent, I'm assuming you mean HYROX in Birmingham, Alabama, right? Because there's 2 HYROX Birminghams now. So
there's 3 bigger, well, there's a few more, but there's 3 main events around us. So there is HYROX Birmingham. There's HYROX in London. And then we also have now HYROX in Cardiff, so in the UK. So definitely not in Alabama.
Okay, so yeah, I like where you're going there. So the race schedule is probably a lot more developed than it was 3 years ago. In North America now, there's equally developed schedule where regardless of what region you're in, you're going to have something. So let's talk through London, right? Because that's probably the next major one, and that's probably the one your gym will be best attended at. So that is... when is that? I don't know.
Yeah, so that is great. Yeah, so normally it's November time. So November. It hasn't been launched yet. Birmingham's been launched, which is, I think it's October time. But yeah, that's the point, John, right? Like 3 years ago, we didn't have that cadence. Like in HYROX, they didn't really release and there wasn't any frequency in terms of these events. We couldn't predict it. So now we kind of know that every kind of November, every fall is HYROX London. So we can loosely prep for that.
So you go back like a set amount of weeks. So let's say the event's in November. You like doing these prep courses, right? And how many weeks back would you start the prep course?
Well, I would recommend like starting back about 10 weeks before the main event. So if you're going to run like a 6-week prep course, start like 10 weeks out. And then it gives you a chance to do the prep course, then do like maybe a simulation event. And some of the gyms that I've spoken to who are running this sort of HYROX prep course, they are then putting people onto like personal training in the lead up to the actual main event, the official event. I think one of the great things about that is it's, you know, say for example, they have members attend the prep course. They've also got externals coming on. So externals who have never done HYROX before. So these guys and girls are on these prep courses. They don't really know about the like sled techniques, how it feels to kind of work under, you know, huge kind of stress, long durations, endurance. And so what's nice is when they're working through that 6-week period, the coach is always observing them and observing like where their weak spots are, where they can improve on. So the gyms that I work with, so I'm also a mentor for Two Brain Business, and the gyms that I work with who do really well with HYROX is they don't just kind of like put the HYROX prep course on the timetable. They watch kind of how these people are performing. And then at the end of the prep course, they will then offer further guidance and support. That could be like just like one-off nutrition advice. That could be like, hey, listen, let's get you on sort of 4 or 5 PT sessions in the lead up to the official event so that we can really maximize your performance on like the wall balls or whatever. So like one guy in the Netherlands at the moment, he has he has times his ROI on affiliation by 89. Like he is killing it because he is doing the prep courses, the simulation events, the PT, the small group PT, the memberships. And he's realized there's real opportunity there to provide lots of things for people to benefit from to maximize their performance on race day.
Okay, so we threw out a lot of acronyms and different types of events. So let's work backwards here. So we have the official event, and that's kind of the main thing HYROX is providing, is like this big, like, traveling circus almost, where they're going around the country. They're throwing these massive 30,000 people events, and every participant gets a bunch of photos. They post it on social media. So like, you know, people are seeing this and they become aware. You're saying as an affiliate, you get to license the HYROX name, and then you can throw competitions within your gym, those are your simulations. And so if you have, let's say HYROX London is in November, mid-August, you would start making some marketing, right? Saying, hey, if you've seen this HYROX thing, you want to compete in London, my gym, Gas Station Fitness, is going to be doing a 10-week prep course this day and this day each week, and it costs this much money. Sign up, and the deliverable at the end is you're going to do way better. You're going to be ready. You're not going to make a fool of yourself on race day, right? Okay. And then somewhere in the middle of this process, so between the mid-August kind of like promotional beginning period and the November like actual race, you would throw like a in-gym competition in the middle?
Yeah, so I see like gyms doing it a couple of different ways. Like some are doing something called like mini HYROX, where like one guy in a high at the moment is like for one mini sim day, he's pulling in like $6,500 like dollars.
Okay.
He isn't even running the sleds.
Okay.
So he's doing the simulation event with no sleds.
Okay.
But the reason why he's doing so successfully in it is because he is the only gym in his whole area who offers HYROX.
Right.
So we personally now, because our market is a little bit more saturated, we kind of have to step it up a little bit. So we go external. We have a full kind of venue that we take over. Mm-hmm. And we do like split times, and we do like prizes, and we do like a backdrop of HYROX and photo opportunities. So like, I think it depends again on like, you know, where you are in your like HYROX journey and what the market around you is telling, like as to where your opportunities lie.
Okay.
So what I would say is HYROX make it really easy to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sort of talk about other brands at this stage, but they allow you to kind of use their name, which creates so many opportunities for you as a gym owner. It was last year that HYROX, in terms of Google search terms in the UK, it was the first time that like HYROX overtook CrossFit as search terms. So why would you not like maximize, like knowing that people are searching for HYROX? All you have to do nowadays is just put your hand up and say you're a HYROX affiliate, and it will naturally attract people. Like it's worked really well for us in terms of marketing to not necessarily like advertise the event, but advertise HYROX. It's like, are you interested in HYROX? Have you ever thought about training for HYROX? Are you like registered in an up and coming event? So what we're doing there is we're like putting the net out, and we're just attracting anyone who wants more information on HYROX. And then depending on the conversations that we have with them, we will then funnel them into one of our offerings. That could be like membership only, like HYROX only memberships. It could be our next up and coming simulation event. It could just be like PT. Like we had a 69-year-old the other day who approached us, and he is, I think he's just qualified for World Championships. And he just wants somewhere to come to use all the equipment and to kind of do some programming. So, you know, he would then go on to PT because he's got like really bespoke needs in terms of what he's trying to achieve. So for us personally, we kind of just use the brand, put it out there, and hopefully catch sort of whoever's interested. I do know there are other gyms who just launch like a marketing campaign on their simulation event, which can also work really successfully.
And so, you know, the framework we laid out, it's like working backwards from the official HYROX race and then layering in either some like camps, which would be like a weekend class, or in your case, like multiple, like you just add it to your schedule. You're saying kind of the the V2, as the market matures a little bit, is you actually meet with some of the people in the program and assess their needs. So it's like, hey, you can probably get better at sleds. To get better at sleds, you should do some personal training, and then like offer HYROX in different formats. Or it's like, hey, you qualified, this is probably less common of a use case, but you're qualified for world champions and you just need to be in the gym for 3 hours. And so here's the plan we're going to do to, work on whatever a world champion HYROX athlete needs to do.
Yeah. Well, we've had to, right? Because like bearing in mind, we're an affiliate and we get early bird access to events. I have applied for tickets for the last 3 or 4 big HYROX events, and I haven't got one ticket myself. So, like, understandably, our members were getting really frustrated. So, back in the day when tickets were more widely available, like, everything was about the event. Like, we had 30 people signed up for one HYROX event, and off we went, and we kind of used that momentum. But nowadays, we had to adapt. Like, we had to almost expect that people weren't going to have these big event days in their diaries. So we've got 2 forms of kind of, I suppose, like prospects for our program. We've got our, athletes who are going for the event, but we've also got people who just want to just do HYROX training. So we kind of needed to know what their goals were. Like, so we didn't assume that they were all going for an event. Like, some people don't even bother anymore trying to get into these big events because they are so competitive and so hard to come by. So we try and still kind of put the HYROX name out there and the enthusiasm and the energy, but we kind of have to approach it in a slightly different way to how we did maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, and we spoke to the head of affiliates for North America, and he said, if you have that situation, just throw your own event. Like that was his advice. I know they are doing some things to get affiliates earlier access, but that does seem like a common problem. So you're saying you circumvented that, focusing less on the event, but just generally people who want to do this style of training.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we host our simulation events like twice a year.
Okay.
So we do a winter one and then we do a summer one.
Okay.
So our members feel like they're training for something. Which I think is really important for them, because like HYROX as a training program, it can get quite like samey. Like, it's important that people feel like they've got something that they're on track for to keep motivating them. So, we host the simulation event, and each event pulls in maybe like $2,500 every time. So that's sort of British pound. So what's that, like $3,500 USD maybe? But even if we just ran the simulation events and did nothing else, that would still be like a 6.5 times ROI on our affiliation fee. Like, it's a bit of a no-brainer from that point of view.
Yeah, I know affiliates that, like you said, that's the only thing they do is they do, a competition twice a year, and that's all they do. Yeah. I know other ones that they just do one weekend class, and they charge, $30 to $35 for that weekend class, and they make it a little longer, and they bring in some partners and nothing else. So like, that's what's nice about the flexibility of it. You can kind of shape it. It makes it hard to explain what the easiest ROI path, because it's just so flexible, right?
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. And I think that's really important with the changing markets. I think that's why HYROX is done so well, because it is so flexible to the individual gym owner or whatever they're working towards.
I was a CrossFit affiliate, and I ran my affiliates during the if you build it, they will come era. My first gym, I opened with 100 people pre-sold. My second gym had over 200 members who paid in full for 6 to 12 months. HYROX in North America is having that moment now, right? Where you just kind of affiliate, you say you offer it, and money just starts showing up. You're getting on the tail end of that, being from the UK. I think one of the biggest problems facing CrossFit affiliates is having some type of mechanism to bring new people in the door, right? Because people are less excited about CrossFit than they were 13 years ago now. Wow, that's a long time ago. 13 years ago when I started. Can you talk about how HYROX has helped or hurt your CrossFit program?
Yeah, I love that question, because the answer is stuff that we weren't anticipating. So it's like a surprise to us. So when we brought in HYROX, we used it very much like as a training complementing the CrossFit program. What it has later transpired into is like almost like a level, I'm not going to say a level down, but when we have people on CrossFit who, for example, have shoulder pain, we can then direct them to our HYROX program because it's slightly less intense. So, yes, I can tell you how much revenue I get from my HYROX program and my HYROX only memberships. But the stuff that I can't measure that is arguably more important is how many memberships we've saved. Because, they're no longer kind of being CrossFit members and then just cancelling. Like, we are now having that conversation and saying, right, why don't you kind of go onto HYROX for like 2 or 3 months? Because it's just slightly less load, slightly less weight for you and slightly lower skill. So we're having a good success rate in terms of downgrades, but also what we're seeing is upgrades. So they come onto our HYROX program and they're witnessing the CrossFit classes. So we have 55 CrossFit classes a week, and we have about 8 HYROX classes. So these HYROX only memberships are seeing what's going on in the gym. And we have a lot of people upgrade and doing the on-ramp for CrossFit, and then going and making use of the full kind of spectrum of classes that we offer. So we're getting loads of retention, we're getting loads of upsells, we're getting loads of downsells. Like, I can't really measure those. Well, I can do, but we don't. But, that has been a surprise for us as a business in terms of how it's complemented the business model and, help with that long-term retention.
So basically, if someone's burnt out from CrossFit or, hey, I'm feeling this thing in my shoulder, they move down to HYROX.
Yeah, or maybe they want to try something else, just different style of training.
And then someone in HYROX is like, okay, this is great, but it's limited on the schedule and I want to get a little stronger. They'll see what's going on in the class before or after, and then they'll move into CrossFit. So it's kind of worked in parallel very nicely is what you're saying?
Exactly. And I did say downgrade, but it's not necessarily downgrade on price. We charge the same per class for HYROX as we do CrossFit.
Okay.
But it's more just like in terms of cash flow. It's like lesser in terms of cash flow because there's less classes on the timetable a week.
And so how are you viewing that affiliation now? Is HYROX just kind of a entry into the funnel to eventually get people to CrossFit, or is it something different?
HYROX, we do track how many HYROX only memberships we have in our gym, and HYROX only memberships still give us per annum enough revenue to afford like a full-time coach. So like, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm not pushing that any further, but it's nice that if people do want to kind of up it in terms of their training and go maybe more to like lifting, then we have that as an option for them. So that's what we're about in our gym. We just create more and more opportunities for people to kind of enhance their training and what their goals are. But yeah, in answer to your question, like, I'm happy with how it is at the moment. I'm happy with just HYROX only memberships. I'm not kind of really intentional about feeding into the CrossFit world. If that's not on their goal, then they'll stay as HYROX only memberships.
So they basically coexist now, and there's benefits to having both, is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of adds extra depth to our business. And hey, like, it might only account for like, I think I worked out the other day that HYROX only memberships account for like only 5% of our gross revenue. But like I said, that's still like, gives us a full-time member of staff per year. So I'll take that.
And what has it done in terms of complexity? Like some gym owners are like, I don't want to be an events business. I don't want to run these camps. I don't want to figure out the timetable. Like, has it added a lot of complication to your operation?
No, it hasn't, because we already had the kit. We had the space on the timetable. We had the members who had the demand for it. But going back to the original conversation about like, would I do things differently? Like, we went and leaned into the competition side of things first, the simulation events, before we looked at things like race prep courses, because that's our background. And that's what I love about HYROX is like, you can come in at whichever kind of angle suits you best as a gym owner. It's not like you have to do it this way. So like, if you're comfortable with running competitions, then start there. If you're comfortable with doing like in-house, like speciality courses, then do your race prep course first. Like, or maybe, like I said, you've got some quiet times on the timetable and you want to just fill those classes. So start with your timetable, but don't miss. And I think this is what I see with a lot of gym owners is like, they miss the hype around it. Like, don't just like, my advice to them would be, don't just kind of sneak it onto the timetable and just like, just hope the uptake will be there. As like, use the momentum, use the marketing that HYROX is giving you already. And put it out there. People know what HYROX is. You just need to tell them that you offer it.
So what does that mean exactly? Like, how are the best gyms in Two Brain marketing their HYROX affiliation?
I think there's 2 levels. Like, for us, we don't spend any money on HYROX marketing unless we're doing a simulation event. But what we have done is we found all of our local Facebook groups, and every week without fail, we are posting that we are HYROX affiliate, and this is the link to book the free trial class. We also, like I said, have physical marketing. So we have signs outside. But I also have like gyms out there who are doing a lot of paid advertising. One gym owner in the Netherlands, like he's getting people who are traveling up to 2 hours to come to some of his events. So by putting the word out there and putting the paid marketing out, he's managing to capture quite a wide audience.
So you're a HYROX affiliate and you're also a CrossFit affiliate. We've talked about how there's a lot of benefits to both sides by flying both flags. Two Brain works with a lot of gym types, and you mentor a bunch of different types of gyms yourself. Are there any gym types or models where affiliating with HYROX doesn't make a ton of sense, or maybe, sets them backwards brand-wise?
From experience, no. I've worked with access gyms who have implemented some sort of HYROX training and equipment. I think the question I would ask is, we're all business owners. So it always comes back to ROI and what you're trying to achieve. So if you haven't got any of the equipment, if you haven't got the staffing to run big simulation events or prep courses, then clearly there are more barriers to overcome there. Maybe your population, they just want to get strong and things like running isn't their bag. Like you're less likely to kind of probably go down the HYROX route. But from my experience with the gyms that I've worked with, like it would fit with most of the models that I work with. So, one of the gyms is in a very kind of like, I think it's like 1,200 square foot facility. So it's small. And you'd think, hey, listen, where are the sled pulls and pushes going to go? Where's the running going to go? But what they've done is they basically just created some PT HYROX offering. So they've sidestepped and they've like, how can we use HYROX, but give it in a package that suits our client base? So no, from my experience, like it fits in a lot of different models.
Yeah, and to your point, I was talking with Brian Bott, who's a Two Brain mentor, and he was like, yeah, I've trained, he had some, like he trained 2 world champions or something crazy. And he was like, but I don't know, I only offer small groups, semi-private, like it doesn't make sense for me. And I was like, do you realize who does HYROX now? It's like pulling from the same kind of crowd as like Ironman and these large endurance races where it's like some of the most like the richest and most flexible scheduled people on the planet, right? Like if we look at the New York City HYROX, it was 10 days long. Berlin was 10 days long. Like people are racing on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and they're paying, $500 to do the race, and they're flying there and they're staying in the hotel and they're buying $250 HYROX shoes and $250 hoodies and t-shirt packages. And so if you're someone who works with an affluent clientele, there are a lot of affluent people who want to do HYROX. You can just cater the training specifically to them. And that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And what I love also is they're also doing it for kids now, right? They're doing like HYROX youngsters. So age isn't even a barrier anymore. So I just love how like it suits all different ages. And okay, you talk about affluent people, but like still, like you can go to an access gym and still do some kind of HYROX programming, like for a low price, low barrier to entry. So, this is what I think is really special about it, is it's high accessibility. Like, okay, fine, you can't enter a main event. Okay, but just go to your local gym. That's like, for us, we've got like something called the gym group, where like they are like, I don't know what the correct title is, but they're like a partner to HYROX. And, that's like $20 a month to access that. So, I think that's what's so great about it, is all ages, all different kind of avatars. Doesn't matter whether you're like a solicitor, like a lawyer, or whether you're just like, I don't know, someone who maybe hasn't exercised in years.
And if you're a coach, like there was a thread that one of our clients sent out from the official HYROX group, and it was people asking about, hey, what does it cost to get someone to program for me? And there was maybe 50 comments on it. And the going rate is between $200 and $500 a month for remote programming. And there are people in Two Brain who are making, I know of at least 2 making over $1,000 a month just from remote coaching for HYROX athletes.
Yeah. And like the guy in the Netherlands, like he's earning 22 grand a month with HYROX, because he's doing everything. He's doing like your small group, your PTs, your programming, your sims. Like there's a lot of opportunity there to be had for sure.
So one of the things that makes HYROX special is just how flexible it is. And we covered a lot of different angles and starting points in this podcast. If you're a gym owner that's interested in adding HYROX to your gym, or maybe getting more ROI out of your affiliate, we have a lead magnet called how to get ROI from your HYROX affiliation. It contains a guide that we put together after interviewing some of the most successful HYROX affiliates in TwoBrain, and also contains more pieces of long-form content going deep within specific gym owners' HYROX programs so you can pick and choose the strategies that work best for your gym. To get it, scan the QR code here or grab it in the link below.